We'll do this one. Yeah, we'll do this one.
Okay. Or are they going to give the handouts?
Shall we do this?
Do you want to do this one?
Yeah.
All right.
So Y was OS observed in loss of drying in product X. So the analyst, you will have steps, right? He took the wet cake from step 51 instead of step 56. Okay? This is one case, one problem. What's your next question? Next question is why did he take the number from 51 instead of 56? Brilliant. The analyst made a mistake with respect to this particular step of the test. Why did he make this mistake? The analyst did not verify the step number as per the specification document during the test. So basically, specification document should let do. Sir, by mistake. So what's the next question? Why? Why did he not check the specification document? Why did the analyst not verify the step number as per the specification document? The analyst did not carry the specification document. Why did the analyst not carry the specification? There is no defined procedure for mandatory issue of specification document. Same thing me, mere lago change. That is what we did, right? Okay? The other way to do it. Analyst had divided the mass of water by weight from sample 51 instead of 56. He made a mistake with respect to this particular step of the test. Why? The analyst doesn't know the procedure. Why? The analyst forgot. Why? The analyst didn't get motivated. So, and if this is something that it's not giving us, right? Is it a root cause or a symptom? So we didn't come to the root cause. It's hazy. And imagine, suppose 10 of your analysis were like this. Out of 100 deviations, 10 analysis if you do like this, what will you do with the 11th analysis? Will you do it like this or will you do it like that? You will also do it like this. So you should again go back and take a fresh perspective, as she said, right? Every problem is a fresh problem, anukoni, we have to solve. So with that mindset, let's do one simple problem for fun and then let's do a breakout. I am unable to reduce my weight. Annadu Ramu. Okay. Why? So he said he goes to the gym but he eats a lot of chocolates. Next thing. Brilliant. There's always a Cadbury packet in my house. Because my wife keeps buying it. Why is his wife buying it? Because my wife likes sweet things. So ఇప్పుడు దాన్ని చేంజ్ చేసేద్దామని నాకైతే లేదు. So solution అయితే ఇవ్వచ్చు కదా. What is the solution? Oat biscuits తిను, chocolates తిను. నువ్వు హెల్తీగా ఉంటావు, నేను హెల్తీగా ఉంటాను. Okay? With this, please stand up in 2 lines and face each other. Sorry? So basically, first I'll give it to you, then I'll explain it.
Just pass it on.
Just pass it. So just take one and pass it on. Then okay, తీసుకొని So I'll just explain the case. And he comes in and there is his supervisor is there. He says, supervisor, ఇది కాస్త ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేసే cyclohexane tank వచ్చింది, ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేసే ట్యాంక్ నెంబర్ 10 కి అని చెప్పేసి వెళ్ళిపోతాడు. He goes to collect some documents, he comes back, he sees that tank number 20 is getting filled, but tank number 20 is not cyclohexane, it's hexane. Now, the investigators, that is the managers, okay, have some information in that one page of handout, okay. The supervisor, okay, the respondent has a little more information, okay. So it's not the same information and you can't share it. So the manager has some information, okay. Lengthwise lo the supervisor has some more information, and the supervisor also has some questions. Okay? And I will not let you read it, but basically a question is investigator can ask any questions, right? But assuming that he has understood 5i, we think he will ask a few questions. That's our hypothesis. He questions adutadu ani. So, oka 10 potential questions ki mem taggatu answers icham. So, if the investigator asks those questions, the respondent should give the corresponding answer. So, if you read respondents, if you see there's some question one, why something something something. Okavela aa question adugute investigator, meer ivvalsina answer dan pakkana undi.
Maybe you're an investigator, no? Investigator. No, the respondent cannot show the investigator the question.
You can speak louder.
I did not raise the issue.
For releasing the solvent, I checked, but
100% డిఫరెంట్గా 100% ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి ఈ అవేర్నెస్ కంపెనీలో రావాలి, యాక్చువల్ ప్రతి ఇండస్ట్రీలో రావాలి.
Realize the issue అంటున్నారు. did not realize the issues. దాని గురించి
1, 2, 110, 20 అలా అంటే మనం ఇది తీసుకుని వెళ్తే దానికి పెట్టి
ఓకే ఇవి ఎప్పటికప్పుడు జరుగుతూనే ఉంటాయి కదా. వై వర్ ద ఐడెంటిఫికేషన్స్
Why did you transfer the cyclohexane into the hexane tank? So why did you transfer it to tank 20 instead of tank 10? Is that the right question?
Yes.
Very good. What is the answer?
Connection of transfer to misplace.
So the connection of the tanks was tank 10 ka tank 20 mein, tank 20 ka tank 10. What is the next?
Why transfer lines are misplaced?
Is that the right question?
Yes.
Why were the transfer lines interlinked? What's the answer?
Label for identification is not listed.
The label for the identification is not there. What is the next question?
Why labels are not
So why is the labels not clear?
fading of labels.
Fading of label.
Why fading of label happens? Due to the rain or
Okay. So I think this is right? There's nothing wrong. Just one point. They've created their own answers. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only thing. आपने जो करा है वो सब बिल्कुल ठीक है. The only thing is we've given you answers. It would have been nicer if we used our answers. So there's an answer. Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you. So the question was, the first question was, why have the lines been interchanged? The answer, why was the solvent transferred to tank 20 instead of tank 10? The answer is because there's an interconnection of the lines. The next question was, why was the incorrect connection given? What is the answer? Because the operator could not identify the correct lines. What is the next question?
Why is not
Correct lines. Why could he not identify the correct lines? What's the answer? Why could he not identify the correct lines? The identification sticker was not there. What's the next question?
Why was the identification?
Why was the identification sticker? What's the answer?
During maintenance,
During maintenance, it's terrorist.
During maintenance,
it will be.
it has to be removed.
It was removed.
What's the next question? So the answer was, because as per SOP, the identification stickers have to be removed and the area should not be used during maintenance. What is the next question?
After use it during maintenance.
The right question to ask is, why did you use it during maintenance? Right? So the answer was, there was no lockout board put in the area due to shortage of lockout boards. What is the kappa? Order more? This is a made up example, right? But this is something which you face you may face, right? So it's important for simple problems to not stop at incorrect. Abhi somebody would have given incorrect connection hai. What is the kappa? Connection को ठीक कर दो. What is there to say वो फिर से नहीं होगा. अगर फिर से लॉकआउट बोर्ड का शॉर्टेज हो गया गलती से नहीं लगा, फिर से बंदे ने गलत टैंक में भेज दिया. Repeat incident, repeat deviation.
But another root cause maybe Ram was not aware of the maintenance activity. Otherwise he should have informed.
Correct. So every incident will be different, right? In this case,
Ram is the manager.
But he should have been aware.
When his area work is going on, he should not instruct the
That's what I
to perform the work.
That's what.
First he has to be.
That's what I'm telling you. Ram
Has
is
to be
also.
monitored.
That goes back to that point which we said lack of supervision, right?
Yes.
right?
So that's another.
So I think
Yes.
there may be many other, there may be many, when you do the why, right? You may get different answers. Each situation is different. This was a situation which could have happened. Right?
More than one root cause is also.
So more than one root cause is possible for a hypothetical situation. Whereas the actual situation happens, there will be only one root cause, right? So what we want to teach you or tell you, I hope you understand is, please ask why, right? Please ask why, and if you can get an answer to the why, don't stop at just the symptom. Get to the. Thank you.
Complicated root cause analysis. This is called the fishbone. You might have called it Ishikawa or 6M. Okay? The reason we call it fishbone is because it looks like fishbone. Okay, so you want to look at it, and it has lots of different names, but I call it 6M because the 6 main branches going in that you're going to evaluate are man, could be woman, but man, method, machine, material, measurement, and Mother Nature. Okay, those are the 6 M factors that feed into the fishbone. Now, for each of one of those, several things can feed in. Like for man, we already talked about this. What could it be? Maybe they're not trained. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they don't have any supervision. Maybe they lack experience. So there's lots of factors that feed into each one of these. So let's go to the different causes. What you want to do is, and again, this is just drawn in. Again, Ishikawa, fishbone, 6M, whatever you want to call it. So you've got all your categories. You've got material, man, machine, Mother Nature, method, measurement. So that's how I remember, like if you remember things with a pattern, like we remember the first part of SMART, because you have an acronym. The second part is SQUIP. Then we do tables for the data. And then for the root cause, we do 5Y, 6M. If you just kind of make some sequence that makes sense. So we're going to do an actual cause. So it's basically a visual. Again, visual things help sometimes because you see a specific area. We're going to do a simple one together, but let's talk about what you might see. So for material, what might be some issues, real world issues that you deal with in pharmaceuticals with the material? What might you look at? Material. You get the material from the same place all the time? Hopefully. Yeah? Supplier never changes their process? Hopefully not. You always get the right stuff issued to you. You get the right material, not the wrong material. It passed all of its specifications. It was stored in good conditions. Okay, so those are all things that you might look at, right? How old is it? Is it really old raw material? What about method? What might be some problems with the method? What questions might you ask about the method? Is it a validated method? Okay. Is it a clear method? Does everyone know what robustness means? Are you familiar with the ICH guidelines in the laboratory? People nodding are QC people. The rest of you know what the ICH guidelines are? Yeah? Okay. Robustness means how much leeway do you have? When you first validate a test with the ICH guidelines, right? You want to know how much leeway. Can I go a little bit out of temperature? Can I go like 2 degrees up, 2 degrees down, and it's still going to be good? That's how like it can handle some variability. Okay? So how robust is your method? And did you go outside of the validated ranges? Okay? Critical control points and the adequacy of those parameters. If it's a method, did you do your system suitability? HPLC, right? Usually we run 6 or 7 and then we do a blank just to clean it, make sure. Depends on the method, right? What about man? What might be their problem? Is the person trained? Are they supervised? Can they read the procedure? Is it in their language? What's other problems? Maybe they just are too tired or don't care. Okay, there's a lot of contributing factors for man, and that's actually one of the toughest ones. You really need to look at that. You can't have a lot of human error. Particularly in the laboratory, those phase 1 OSs, read your OS guidance document. Those are supposed to be rare. Laboratory error is supposed to be rare. Okay? Measurements. What standard did you use, right? If you're using a reference standard, if the reference standard is old or hasn't been, and then the measurement you're going to get is no good, right? How often are you checking something? How often are you measuring it? How about machines? What are some of the problems? I know you have problems with your machines sometimes. What are they? What are they related to? Maintenance. Wear and tear. They're just old, right?
Out of calibration.
They're out of calibration. What's that?
Variation RPM sometimes.
Yep.
Validated state.
Are they in a validated state, right? Because every time we do a change, right, we should be evaluating. If you don't do like for like change, you might not have validated equipment anymore. You do preventative maintenance because it will wear. Just like your equipment you take care of at home, right? Your own car, you take care of it. Just because you inspected it once doesn't mean it's still good, depending on the wear and tear. If people are handling it roughly or handling it inappropriately, they're getting frustrated and hitting it with a machine or doing something they shouldn't, that's going to wear your equipment out sooner. So was the machine operating correctly? Take a look at it. What was the maintenance? What was the history? Is it just an old piece of equipment? Because that's sometimes just, the answer is it's just old. It's falling apart. And it's going to keep being a problem. Mother Nature, the impact of the environment. If you have very high humidity in an area, sometimes you will have problems with tablets, compression, coatings. You have problems with people. They're sweating. You have increased environmental monitoring issues. Maybe you're starting to see higher growth in organisms because everybody's sweating. Okay, also when it's extremely dry, the opposite, people tend to shed because you're so dry that your skin actually flakes. Okay, and that causes a problem. So all those things, the environment, and it can just be the wind outside is blowing in all kinds of pollen or whatever might be the issue. The example of Mother Nature was the hurricane in Puerto Rico. That was Mother Nature. It was what it was. There was a lot of wind, there was a lot of rain, there was a lot of everything. Nothing we can do about it. But you want to, like, for each thing, look at all 6 M's, right? Machine, Mother Nature, materials, method, measurement, and man. Man's always probably going to be a big problem. So here, you start like this. So let's take a simple one. We're not going to spend a lot of time. Somebody got in a car accident. Mr. X got into a car accident, okay? Mother Nature, what factors here? Could it, rain. Maybe there's a rainy day. It was hard to see. What's some other factors? The speed? Wait, Mother Nature. Snow. Maybe it was snow. Maybe it was icy. Maybe it was raining. Maybe it was very windy. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so right here, weather conditions. Maybe the rain. Maybe there was too much sun. You ever drive with the sun? You can't really see because there's so much sun coming at you. Okay, that's all Mother Nature. What about man? Why did Mr. X get in a car? His eyesight's bad. He's a bad driver. He's not paying attention. He's texting his girlfriend while he's driving. What about the other driver? Maybe it was their fault. Maybe they're a bad driver, right? Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so Mr. X just is a bad driver. That's unskilled driver. He doesn't have any training, no experience. Another driver hit him. Maybe the other driver wasn't good. Mr. X was on the phone. Maybe somebody in the car was talking and distracted him. He wasn't paying attention. He was tired. He fell asleep while he was driving. Okay, what might be the material here? And when we talk about material, think of the road material. There could be the road surface, the asphalt, there might be storms, there might be not good material, a hole in the road, and that hit him. Oil spill, maybe the lights in the street weren't working, nobody could see. Okay? Now, measurement. Somebody said speed? Yeah. Now maybe he was going too fast, but maybe he didn't know he was going too fast because his speedometer wasn't working correctly. He thought he was doing the speed limit, but it wasn't working correctly. Right? Maybe his car maybe he didn't have enough tire pressure. That can cause, some cars will tell you if the tire pressure is not right. And if it wasn't measuring properly, he thought he had proper tire pressure, but he didn't. The machine. Maybe the machine is just a bad machine. What's that? Brake failure, something happened with the machine. Maybe it's just an old car. Or maybe it was a new car that still had some problems that needed to be worked out. Method. Maybe the method had to do with the roads. Some roads are really prone to design. As I drive home, back into Hyderabad from here, I see signs on the side of the road that says, "Caution, accident-prone area." And I'm thinking, well, why put up a sign? Why don't you just fix it? That would be better. Instead of saying, this is a really bad area and you're probably going to get into an accident. Why don't you fix it? I don't understand. But again, maybe it's just a poorly designed intersection. There's not enough space. It's prone, if you have a blind curve, or especially a blind curve going down, these are accident-prone areas. So all these may have been contributing factors, not just one, which if there were just one simple thing, which his brakes just didn't work, we could have done 5Y. But here it was raining, he was on the phone, his tires weren't working good, it was an accident-prone area. There was a lot of contributing factors. Okay, now we're going to actually do one that has to do with pharmaceuticals. We warmed you up with how to do one with cars. You have in your booklets piece and useful information. So you have your yield at multiple points, right?
ఫస్ట్ మదర్ నేచర్ కండి వెరిఫికేషన్ సరిగ్గా దాంట్లో పోతుంది వెయిటింగ్ డ్యామేజ్ ఆఫ్ బ్యాగ్ ఓపెనింగ్ ఆఫ్ సెంటిఫికేషన్ రాసుకుంటారు.
ఇప్పుడు ఇందులో which one is probable? But this is the problem.
Facility is controlled and it is validated as per the schedules.
How is that a contributing factor? We got a problem, right? We have a problem, so we should look to see if it's controlled. Maybe it wasn't, right? Right? What's the issue? The issue is that we have a product that for some reason might not have passed.
There's low yield.
Low yield, okay.
I think you were saying that the control environment, there's an issue in the control environment, is that?
No. It was verified and it is okay.
Okay,
Not
so
suspecting
in that
another
case,
One more thing. Here the chart number is 123. Up to 122 batches, there is no issue in the yield. In the same environment we have issue. So the reason we have told that facility is under control. That's
okay,
why.
so this is batch 123.
Yeah.
And the same control environment, the first 122 batches did not show any issue. So the root cause that they're saying is having control environment might not be a valid cause to put in Mother Nature.
A valid,
Valid.
nothing we need to look into. We don't want to go there and gather data.
Correct.
You don't want to verify that, in fact, it was in control, that you didn't have any temperature spikes? Is that anything you want to look at?
No. It is a validated and controlled area which we are manufacturing.
I understand. You've already decided that it's not Mother Nature. But it might be. What if, I know you validated it, could it have come unvalidated?
Yes.
Could the alarm system maybe not be working? Could the BAS system be down and you think you're in temperature, but you're not? So, is that something you want, I'm just saying, Is that something you want to look at? We don't want to say it's not the environment. Sorry.
Okay.
It's validated. Yeah, so is the equipment, I guess.
The
And you're all
API
trained.
The API is hygroscopic. In clean rooms, if you have more humidity, there is a possibility of less leak.
Okay, okay, so wouldn't you want to verify? We don't want to automatically say, no, I know all our areas are validated. Something could have happened.
If the humidity is the issue, initially we will install the alarm system and the humidity is going high. Alarm is there.
Idea. So what are we doing here?
You're trying to find the root cause. I understand you have an alarm system. You've already decided it has nothing to do with that. What if the alarm system isn't working? What if the gauge is off?
That is
For that, already some intervals of the program to challenge the alarm. For some intervals to verify the whether alarm is working or not.
Right?
Yes, we have the programs like calibration schedules, like challenge tests. It is in place.
And you don't want to check it.
R&D also provided some guidelines, already instructions.
Yes, probability is there.
This is,
or not?
hang
The
on,
probability is there.
there is, open your mind that any one of these factors could be. I understand that you love your validated system and that it's perfect, but sometimes it isn't and it doesn't work right. Or one of the gauges is off, or somebody touched it and messed with it. So what we need to do is at least consider it. We're going to consider it, and then you're going to come to the meeting and you're going to be open. You're not going to rule out contradictory evidence. You're going to look at the facts and say, yes, it was working properly. We did some additional checks. Then, after you've done that, we can rule it out, but not before. You need to be open to, it might be your system, guys. I know you don't want it to be your system, but it might be, okay? Just because it was working yesterday doesn't mean it's working today. How about man? Group 4. What could be the problem with you guys?
Maybe the trained manforce are not perform that work.
Lack of training.
Lack of training? Maybe they're tired? Maybe the procedures aren't written well.
Lack of experience.
Lack of experience? Maybe there aren't enough supervisors on the floor.
Lack of qualifications. Lack of qualification. Overconfidence. Lack of knowledge.
Clarity.
Same persons who are done 122 batches.
I'm going to read you something.
Reasons and
Person different.
Okay, I'm going to read you something. This comes directly from the regulations, okay? Each person responsible for supervising, and supervising means managing or supervising. It's not just, well, my title's not supervisor, so that's not me. It's any oversight, okay? Manufacturing, processing, packaging, or holding of drug products shall have the education, training, and experience, or any combination thereof, to perform their assigned functions. Okay? There shall be an adequate number of qualified personnel to perform and to supervise. Period. Okay? If you're short on people, you need to think about rearranging your schedule, because you're more apt to make a mistake, right? So make sure that your people, and they're responsible, it is your responsibility as part of a drug manufacturing operation to make sure everyone is properly trained and qualified. You can't assume that, so you need to look into that. How about material? How about group 8 over there? Talk to me about what might be some of your issues with the material that contributed to the low yield. What's that? You changed the vendor? And you didn't know you changed the vendor? That's bad. But you should look at that. Is this lot, you test everything when it comes in, the raw material that you use? Do you check it first before you use it?
Storage conditions of the material.
Storage conditions of the raw material, exactly, especially if it's hygroscopic, right? The age, is it old, is it retest, does it kind of lose its potency after a while? Are there any places where you lose material? Changeover? How effective is your changeover process? How long are your lines? That might actually be more machine. All right, what measurements? Maybe you're measuring. What are you measuring? Sorry. Calibrations? Weight checks? Do you do weight checks? Right? If the weight checks are off, it could be a problem, right? You get different numbers. You have a counter machine that tells you how many tablets and the average weight. If those are off, and you assume that those numbers are correct, and then you do your yield, that's going to be off. So you have to look at all those measurement things, and I know whoever's in engineering and in charge of the equipment will tell me right away, note they're always calibrated. Right? There's never a problem with the equipment. Yeah, but there might be this time. Go ahead and check the calibration. Check all those measurements, whatever gauges you've got. Including your humidity gauges, right? Those are measurements. The humidity was fine. If that gauge is wrong, you're going to have issues. Okay, how about machine? Right here, machine. What might be your issues with the machine? Calibration, preventative maintenance. Is it validated state? Have you done any changes recently? Take a look at your change control. You have an equipment logbook for each piece of equipment? Yes, you do, because it's a regulation, right? So you could look and see, when's the last time it was cleaned? When's the last time it was maintained? What was the last lot that ran on it? Some pieces of equipment, depending on the changeover, you lose a lot in the changeover if the lines are too long, if there's a lot of hang up, okay? You measure your vacuums at the end to see, like from dust control. Do you measure that to see, to calculate into loss, proper loss on your yield? Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. Method, how do you do that? How do you calculate the yield? Where do you calculate the yield? What other things might be related to the method?
Process samples.
Process samples, but you're going to account for those, right? Those don't count against your yield, right? Because you account for those. They're not counted. When you, I'm asking the question here, when you take out process samples, I have to take out, I don't know, 20 tablets to do a test. That doesn't take away from your yield because you accounted for those. So hopefully those are not part of your yield issue because you know you took them out, so they're not actually a loss. It's when you show up, you're short a certain number and you don't know where they went. That's when you have an issue. Okay, so do you understand that this is for more complicated scenarios? It isn't just one. This isn't a 5 why, where you just ask why a bunch of times. There could be a number of factors contributing. Could be a little bit of the humidity. Could be a little bit of the age of the material. Could be a little bit of the machine wasn't working that great. We had issues, maybe we took too many samples and we didn't account for them. Okay, so here's some examples. How did the environment impact the process? It was very humid. How did it impact the raw materials? Any measurements? If we had any calibration issues? Man, these are things we've all talked about. We're overworking them. They don't have enough experience. We don't have enough supervision. The equipment's old. The utilities that support them aren't sufficient. You didn't do your preventative maintenance. Maybe there's some damaged part. These are all things you might consider. The method, inadequate. The batch record isn't clear. The material, new vendor, change in specification, you didn't have enough. Anything like that. These could all be possible scenarios. Let me ask you, in your process, what are the 3 main things, generally speaking, that are your key issues? They seem to all fall into the same categories.
So the fishbone, we've used the 6M. What did we use this for? What was the objective? All the possible root causes, right? So we started with a clear mind. Even if there's 1% chance that it can happen, we have put it in, right? Now Nancy's question is, of these, from all the experience that you have, if you have to choose top 3 things which you want to analyze further, right? You can't analyze all 15 simultaneously, kada? You will analyze in some order. So if you have to choose the top 3, which would those 3 be? Materials of what? In materials? Okay, so one thing that they would want to see first is new vendor, okay?
Does everybody agree?
Does everyone agree with that? Is it an important thing to see?
Wait,
Okay.
not new vendor, material. We're gonna look at materials specifically.
Okay, material, the whole branch.
The
So
whole
was the
branch.
question, look at one of the possible root causes or the whole set?
I want to know of these 6 M's, where you would start, like which of the 3 M's, and then specifically within that, if there's 1 or 2 that you would go after first. So we said material, and you said a new vendor. That's a pretty quick check. You'd know right away, right? Doesn't take long. Okay, it's not a new vendor. What's your next thing you want to check over here?
New vendor also 3 samples we will have check and analyze. After coming the material, we will analyze and distribute it to the production. Otherwise, no deviation we will not consider.
No. The thing is, if it's material and you want to check for new vendor, the process is straightforward.
If new vendor also, we will checking 3 samples.
Correct. You will check 3 samples. When you got the vendor, right? Initially you got the vendor, maybe you used that KSM, suppose.
And lot performance also performed in R&D also.
No, we're not talking about vendor qualification. The question was, we got this material, we have a low yield. Is it a new vendor? Yes or no? Not is the vendor qualified. So I think that's a quick question. Is it a new vendor? No, it's the same vendor we've had since, I don't know. If it's a new vendor, then we would go to where are we at with the qualification? How many lots have we done? Have we had any issues? Do you see, that's a quick one. You'll either say it's not a new vendor, or it is, and then you'll start to look at the vendor qualification. Okay? What would be your next big area that you'd look at?
So man, measurements or method. So which one should we go ahead with? Man?
And if you were going to do man, what would be your first thing you'd check? What do you think would be the most likely area you would check first? Where would you start?
If the experience in that particular product.
Okay. You have a lot of turnover here?
No.
People quit a lot? You have a lot of new employees all the time?
Right?
No, not
No, not very many, right? So theoretically, they should be pretty trained, right? I mean, they've been here a long time. What would be your next guess? If it was a new employee, for sure, you'd be okay, it's a new guy. But mostly, everyone's been here a long time, pretty experienced, they know what they're doing. If it's a new product that you're making, even though you've been here a long time, maybe that new product, in which case, would you look at the person, or would you look at the method? The method, right? It's giving them steps of what to do. Okay? And so that would be really, is it not so much that they don't have the adequate skills, is it that have we given them a good method or procedure, batch record to follow? And the last thing I heard was machine. Which machine's your nightmare? Everybody's got one. Got a machine?
Which is the most painful machine in
Which
such
most
a...
painful machine gives you a headache every time you hear it? Mine was a Grunenberg oven. I hate it. I worked in a company, we had a Grunenberg oven and every
So in
time
yield
someone-
cases, particularly painful machine, centrifuge.
Okay, and what's the problem with the centrifuge?
Into the bags, also maybe happen in bags.
Okay, so those are the places you look first. Okay, so, but you promised me you'll be open to looking to all areas. Because we already what we did just now, like me asking you, was showing me your bias. Right? Told me your bias. You know where you're gonna kinda go after first. You know.
Shortfall in quantity, low input.
And the issue, shortfall in quantity could mean that you're supposed to put 50 kgs, you put 48 kgs. And hence your yield.
Okay, go on to the brainstorm.
Yeah.
Any questions here? Okay, so the last one, and then you can have a tea break. So these, the 5Y, the 6M, and brainstorming. Okay, brainstorming is pretty, a lot of people think it's crazy, and it is. When you brainstorm, think of it, it's literally a storm in your head. Everyone should just say any idea they want. And don't say that, that's crazy. Because sometimes when you hear something crazy, it actually makes and your brain thinks of something else. It's a creative process. Does that make sense? Okay. So it helps you, the purpose of brainstorming is to help you think in new and creative ways. Okay? And some of the rules of brainstorming is no matter what anybody says during the brainstorming part, you don't knock it. Don't dump on their idea. That's stupid. We don't do that. Every idea is okay because even if you do think it's a stupid idea, it might trigger somebody else to have a different idea. Okay? No war stories. Oh, I remember, and you start telling about a time when you had a problem. Nobody cares. That's not what this is about. Okay? You're just there to throw out all kinds of ideas. When you're throwing out ideas and you're writing them all up, it doesn't matter whose idea. Oh, that was my idea. No, I said that first. Doesn't matter. That's not the purpose. Okay? No whining. Okay? Whining, does everyone know? Oh, I don't want to do brainstorming. I don't want to deal with this again. It's not what this is about. We're just going to do it anyway. And don't judge someone's idea up front. No evaluation. And don't jump to the solution. Okay? We're going to try a short one.
Yeah. So we need 5 volunteers.
We need one at least from per table. No more than one per table.
5 people.
We
Simple
need 5
exercise.
people. You're going to buy a car. You're going to buy a car. That's
Okay,
the
here
good
how
news.
many cars are? How many of you have cars?
How many people like cars? I like cars.
How many of you want to buy a car?
How many would like a brand new car? Anybody want a new
Sorry.
car? Come on up.
Come on. Which car to buy? Could be these cars or it could be something better, right?
Discuss among ourselves and we have to decide.
No, so the idea is one of you has to write, okay? You have 5 minutes. All the parameters. When a car konnappudu chala factors untai. It could be cost, it could be color, it could be brand. Atla, what are all the possible things? Okay? Within 5 minutes, you have to just, without thinking, just shoot and mark on the slide.
This is
Brainstorming, right? Whatever comes to your mind, you just put it on the paper. And in the last, people have done more than 20 in 5 minutes, so let's see how many you will do.
Each person has to put his own idea.
No, so you will all discuss and one person will learn.
You're right, and you can't rule out any idea. No, you can't think it's stupid. We're not going to consider that factor. You just write all the factors that you might that you could think of to consider.
Okay,
So start writing.
cool. So who's writing? 1 minute అయిపోయింది already.
Second one, 6 8 marks from
5 minutes ఉంది, 1 minute అయిపోయింది. Okay. Don't discard any idea. Next.
For the car. But in your situation at work, you would be considering factors to consider for some sort of deviation, right? And you just write them all up there. Now you can't take all of them into account, right? You have to start somewhere. And we're not going to have any bias. So what we do is, there's 5 on the team.
Yeah.
Okay, give them each a different color. You get to each have 5 votes. Literally just a hashtag. Your favorite 5. Okay, and then you do yours. And then we're going to take the top 3 with the most votes, and that's where our investigation is going to start and focus.
Among these 16, you have to select 5 for most.
5, yeah.
5 most.
And you each get 5 votes.
You select
One
which of
each,
the
and we'll
5.
just take the
You
most.
give which of the 5, importance for which of the 5.
పక్కన 1 పెట్టండి.
And you can't, nobody influence. Tell them nobody gets to push you on your choice. You vote for what you want.
Safety.
Canopy's the top.
చెప్పకండి.
Storming, and everybody got to vote, okay? Because you want to make sure that we don't have any preconceived notions, right? We don't want to lock out any ideas. So you guys are going to buy a car, and you're going to consider mileage and pickup. You're going to consider safety, and let's see what else. Cost. Those are going to be your top 3 factors to pick your car. Okay? Same thing would happen in a brainstorming session about all these different ideas that might be the root cause. You can't look at all of them right away. Everybody kind of puts a vote where they think it might be, best guess, but don't vote where somebody else votes. Vote where you want to vote. Like I would, music system, nobody voted for that. I would have voted for that.
బ్యూటీ ఇస్ కార్ కొనేటప్పుడు ఎవరు కలర్ కొట్టారా మరి అసలు ఇది
Nobody voted for convertible. I would have voted for that.
See, so the idea is, as you had also said, right, bandwagon, right? When you do group things, CFT చేసినప్పుడు we discuss on 10 reasons and finally సరే okay అని somebody will take the lead and the others will just say okay, let's decide on this. So this will kind of give everyone a chance to put in their point of view, right? Clear?
Okay.
So that's why I said, right, interestingly I would have given color as my first thing. I would probably given maintenance as my first thing. Somebody else's priorities are different, right? So that's what's going to happen in the CFT as well.
Okay, we have one last thing and then you can go for tea. If you just listen up, we'll get through it. The last step in the process, once you figured out the root cause, right, whether it was through 5Y, 6M, or brainstorming, what's the goal here? We would like to fix the problem, right? That's our goal. That's what we want to do. And I'd like to talk about it. Kappa. We keep saying kappa. Okay? A corrective action. A correction is something immediate. You do it right now. Immediate. Okay? Preventative means it's something I'm going to do to stop it from happening in the future. Okay, there's a difference. One's like, right now I'm fixing it. The glass broke, I'm going to clean it up. Going forward, we're not going to use glass, we're only going to have plastic. Whatever it might be. So one is immediate, where you fix it right now. That's the first one. And if you remember, it's the first one because it comes first in the sequence. And preventative is future, where you stop it from happening. And typically, we put in preventative actions, but then if it happens again, is it a preventative action? No. It was just something else you did, so stop doing it. Back it up, take it out of the system. We're going to take a short break and get you some tea, and then I think we have one last session with Sriram. I'm here, I'm around. If you have any specific questions you'd like to ask me about your area, please come up and ask me. I have a lot of information and background in pharmaceuticals. But in the meantime, you can have tea.
No.
Or not.
No. Tea only. Before you go, if you can all come to the auditorium, face and we'll all stand in front of the stage, facing the seats. We'll take a group photo. Yes. Very good too. So next time when we see you for GDP, we'll give you a photo in the frame. You can keep it on your table. Yeah?
Style also.
ఫరూక్ రెండు కెమెరాలు అయితే మిక్స్ చేస్తావా ఏంటి?
Thank you everybody.
How many do you go back and look at? You can pull it up in a second because you should have the whole last year. You can see if you're going out of trend, and you know the whole purpose of that annual product review is to identify before. If you start to see the trend going up on any one of the quality attributes, you all see the annual product review, right? Gets passed around, head of manufacturing sees it, head of quality sees it, head of QC sees it, and you sign off on it every year. Everyone say, yes, we do that, Nancy. You do, you know? You need to do that. You need to be looking at that on a regular basis, not just run an investigation. What is the recommendation when, for example, lot 121 goes OOS and you have 122, 123, and 124 are under manufacturing? This is what we talked about. You're going to have to take them to the next stable point. Even though you know maybe there's an issue, and you'll investigate them under that single investigation, because all three lots are potentially impacted. If you stop right then and there at lot 121 and don't continue, even though the others are already underway, they'll be rejected anyway if they're not taken to a stable point. You have to take them to the next stable point and quarantine. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. You got a deviation, got an OS result. Is it required to continue the laboratory investigation as part of the OS? Okay, so remember when you have a laboratory investigation, the first phase of the laboratory, there's phase 1 in a laboratory investigation, and that's where it's typically a very fast, it's one page, usually checklist, where you check to make sure the lab analyst didn't make a mistake. Okay, it's typically very short, it's called phase 1. Okay? If at the end of the phase 1, the analysts did everything right according there, you then open up and you go to a phase 2 investigation. This means now we believe this OOS, whatever it is, potency or identity or some impurity, it's real. We need to extend the investigation into manufacturing, but it is required to continue the investigation in the laboratory. A full-blown investigation, not just the page 1, because now you go to a phase 2 investigation. Those of you in the QC lab, read your OOS guidance. This tells you, yeah, you did an initial preliminary and I'm pretty sure it's not. I mean, that's what you came up with. I'm pretty sure it's not a lab error. And manufacturing is going to go and try to figure out if it was something in the process. But in the meantime, that's when you must continue further and dive down into the laboratory. Okay, so you do continue both once you hit phase 2. What action could be concluded? What action could be taken on concluded root cause of repeat deviations? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Can you repeat?
If it's a repeat deviation, okay, you've determined it's a repeat deviation. What conclusions can you come to? I can tell you one, your preventative action wasn't working. That's one conclusion. So think of another one. Sometimes you can add more data. Maybe the second time it happens, you learn a little bit more. And you go, hey, you know what? And you can addend that first one, and maybe you put in a preventative action, but actually it didn't work, so you should maybe consider taking out that preventative action if it's really not helping and it's just another step that's actually not preventing anything. That's your decision, depends what that is. And then you reevaluate and try another one, and if it happens again, I'm going to go with, then your preventative action wasn't preventative because it happened again. And each time you have a repeat deviation, you should go back to the previous one and elaborate further, because eventually you'll find the root cause. Sometimes you just need more information that doesn't come to light. But your conclusion on a repeat deviation is you should just acknowledge it. This is a repeat deviation. Here's the one that happened in, I don't know, September of 2017, and here's what we addressed, and we looked at the corrective action, the preventive action, and it wasn't satisfactory. We are now reevaluating the repeat deviation while considering the old one. Now we're taking the old one and the new one together and evaluating them. We'll try something else.
Clear?
Yeah? Okay, so there was any other questions anybody had? Because I think there's another. We're good? We got exercise? Okay, now you get to show how much you've learned. They're going to take a quiz. Are you ready? You're all going to get 100.
5 steps. So read all 1, 2, 3, 4, and which is the right one, which has the right order of steps to take if an incident or a deviation happens.
Some people also made the jigsaw, right? Pratik?
You have to come there.
Yeah, that's it.
You want something?
Yeah, just sit down, sit down.
Yeah.
Somebody said 2 and 4. So I'll read out 2. First step, identification and recording a deviation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Second step, data collection and analysis.
No.
What was the second?
Impact assessment.
Without classification and impact assessment, I don't know whether it's major, minor or critical, right? So that's incorrect. Whoever answered 2, that's incorrect.
So you have to go and play with your puzzles more. If we want to give you puzzles, you have to go play with that more.
But when so many are there, can't get the read in the
Yeah.
Can you read properly?
I don't think so. I don't think
And you weren't able to. Maybe we'll go to the next question. That's a easier to read. This is easy.
What is number one activity for which leaders get paid? Motivation cannot be seen. So an activity is an action, it can be seen. Manage, you're coming closer. How do you manage? What do you see typically?
How the TV is performing.
How the team is performing, responsibility is also quality. What do you see?
Interaction.
Interaction. You see interaction? Can you see interaction?
Vision, we have to look at it.
Sorry?
Vision, we have to look at it.
Yeah, but that's all to hyphanda, right? In the moment, today, what you get paid for and how your vision comes alive is through, in fact, it's interaction or another word for it, conversations. I'll tell you how we discovered this. We made a list of all the activities that a typical leader does from morning to evening. You all have a role.
Yes.
You all have a responsibility, JD. You all get paid. So from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., if I track your activity calendar and I look at what you're doing, so first you come, you check your email, that's an activity. Then maybe you make calls, that's an activity. Making calls is a way of having conversation. Then maybe you read records, that's an activity. Then maybe you search trends for what other companies are doing. So maybe you go on Google, or maybe that's another. Fourth, maybe you upskill. Someone was asking, by the way, where do we find this book, right? Fourth, maybe you have textbooks like this, little books that you carry. She carries one. In my bag, I carry one always, which is related to our work, right? So that we can always keep refreshing. But if you look at all these activities and you look at where does a leader spend most of their time, and which of these activities generates value for the organization. If you put that together, it turns out conversations are the number one activity. In fact, the percentage time that a leader will spend in conversations increases as you get promoted. Have you noticed? As an analyst, most of the time you're on the desk. I met 2 years ago, I met the chairman of one of India's largest conglomerates, very senior, he's like in his 70s. And I asked him, how do you manage your time? And he said, I only have meetings. I don't have any time which is for me. That way I make sure that all my time is for others. I said, okay, but how do you manage meetings? He said, Sriram, no meeting is more than 15 minutes for me. How long is your average meeting? How much time does it take to get to the objective of a meeting? What is the quality of your conversations? So, the better your quality of conversations, the more value you generate in one conversation, the more high value conversations you can add into your day, and the more overall you can create impact. So conversations are important. They are also a source of pain. Difficult conversations are a big reason why people leave. 4 months back, I was with a senior leader at another pharma company, and he said, "Oh, I just joined 3 months ago from this company." I asked him, "Why did you leave?" He said, I got into an argument with my boss, and it became so heated that I said, I can't work with this guy, so I quit." You can quit your boss. By the way, at home also conversations are a source of pain. Some bosses you can quit. Some bosses are for life.
Your boss will quit, their wife will quit.
So we are learning the next 50 minutes is about how do you have difficult conversations. Yeah. How many of you have never had a difficult conversation in your life? Show of hands. Never had even one difficult conversation. How many of you have had a difficult conversation in the last 3 months? Okay, last 6 months. How many of you have had at least one difficult conversation? What about the others? I'm going to come and have a difficult conversation. What about the others? समझ में आ रहा है हम क्या कर रहे हैं? हम इस पे सोच रहे हैं. सबको हिंदी समझ में आता है? हाँ? No? Okay. But you get where we are going? Difficult conversations. बातचीत करना और झगड़े में आ जाना. Right? How do you avoid this? So I want you all to think of one difficult conversation that you recently had. It could be at work or it could be at home. I want you to reflect on your own life. I am a strong believer in the fact that as the person standing here, I don't have anything. I didn't bring any wisdom in my pocket. Everything you already know. I just want to show you that you know. So reflect on a difficult conversation in your life. I'm going to give you half a minute. Think of one tough conversation, argument, conflict, either with a friend or with a boss or with a junior or with your wife or with your child. So take 30 seconds. Invisible. When you had this conversation, if I was a small camera on the wall observing you, क्या दिखेगा मुझे? What will I see? What actions do you see in difficult conversations? Lovely. So speaking loudly, you said. Sorry? Okay, so lovely answers. So speaking loudly, aggressive. What do you say? Aggressive? Aggressive manner. Very nice. Both of this camera पे दिखेगा. और क्या दिखेगा?
Eye contact.
What about eye contact?
Harsh looking.
Harsh. Nice. Harsh eye contact. Very nice. Harsh eye contact. What else? Huh? Fear on face. What else? Fear. Okay, but what will you see? How emotion तो दिखेगा नहीं कैमरा में.
Irritation.
Facial expression. What kind of facial expression will you see?
Irritation.
Beautiful. Angry face. Angry facial expression. What? Huh? Irritation. How will you see that? Nice. So irritated body language. What else? Anything on the speech or language? Uncensored language? Censored language?
Meaning is not understandable, blank face will come.
Okay, blank face. If not understood, sometimes even when they understand, it's blank face.
Lack of thinking.
So wait, let me write blank face. Blank face. Blank face. Okay, lack of thinking. क्या दिखेगा कैसे? कैमरा पे क्या दिखेगा?
Any manhandling issues.
Manhandling. Okay, manhandling. Manhandling issues. I don't want to get in a conflict with you. Who said that? Okay, yeah. Anything else? Last year?
Before manhandling, throwing something.
Throwing, yeah, nice, very nice. Very nice, throwing something. It happened once to me, throwing something, throwing objects. Okay, great, good.
Using unparliamentary words.
Oh, nice. Someone said unparliamentary words? These days, parliamentary language is. So, unparliamentary, okay, we'll say unparliamentary words. Unparliamentary words. Okay, good chart, difficult conversations. So, we are now going to have a role play of a difficult conversation. होता है नाटकों में होता है हाँ
बहुत कम होता है
कभी कभी होता है now see a difficult conversation is a grade right this is it's sounding like real serious difficult conversation but sometimes even subtle conversations can actually be difficult you're talking with if you're production you're talking with QA. You may not be throwing objects, but it's there, it's a difficult conversation. So we're going to see that role play right now. I want 2 volunteers.
Come, it's a game.
Yeah, it's a game. So let's do this actually. Why don't either you and I or you both? Who wants to role play a classic production quality difficult conversation?
Do you want to be production?
I'll be power. Yeah? Okay, so round of applause. Okay, so what's a typical situation that these guys would find themselves in? So what's have you seen a record that someone has? What's the context?
Yes, I have, that where they didn't do proper documentation in the record and I can't release it.
Okay, okay. And does that common for you?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sometimes.
And is that a relevant situation, or do you have something in mind similar?
Yeah, it happens and people have to rectify that.
Okay, people are ready. So here's this is the situation, okay? So she's spotted something in the documentation, it can't be published, you said. It can't be
Released.
it can't be released.
Without being corrected.
Without being corrected. And he is a junior leader in production, okay? And he is not used to sort of quickly closing issues because that's how production, no, I don't know.
It is actually closed.
It's closed,
It
okay.
is closed.
Okay, it's
Agreed.
closed. Agreed.
Agreed. No argument there.
Okay, okay.
Because yes, it is a fact. You have to correct.
Okay, fine. Okay, so
But he wants it to be a difficult conversation.
yeah, it has to be a
It
difficult.
will come next year. Yeah.
Okay.
In the beginning itself.
Okay, fine. Okay, good. So you're going to make it a difficult conversation, which typically is seen on NATCO shop floors. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
I need you to correct this document so that I can release it. There's an error on page 5.
Yes, it has to be reviewed and corrected.
I need it done now. I need to release the batch, so I need you to review it and do it now.
When do it? Because I will not go into the difficult conversation in the beginning.
It's already difficult, Emily. It's difficult. We'll do it. Okay, keep going.
Okay, when do you think you could have this done by?
I will discuss with the guys involved in the production, with all the shop floor guys. So why it happened, what is that I have to do to correct that. So that way I will, as quickly as possible, I will close. Once I talk to them, I will close this issue.
Okay, so could you give me just a rough idea, because I have people above me asking when I'm going to release the lot, and so I need, the pressure's on me to release the lot, therefore I need you to make your decision and work with your team a little more expeditiously.
Yeah, of course, pressure will not be there on QA alone, pressure will be there on all the departments for the release. And definitely I will close in a day or two.
Okay, the pressure's definitely going to be on QA, because they're going to ask me why I didn't release the lot. Can I give them your name?
Yes.
When I
yes,
don't release the
yes,
lot? Is it okay if I let them?
Yes, it is a deviation, I have to investigate, I have to close, then only I can say, because it has to be released, I can't close. See, release will be there, but release cannot be this QA's job only. Release is everybody's job, everybody has to participate, and production also has to participate in that. So they will close properly, appropriately, it has to be closed, so therefore, yeah, in a day or two we will
See,
close.
but production's never going to say that.
Okay, we'll pause here. So, how did it feel? I know it was a nice role play, but any reflections? Does this happen?
No, I see, generally, this way only it happens here. But very rarely, actually, I have noticed once or twice, whenever somebody shouts with a loud voice, I will go and ask them, why you are out shouting? First understand the problem, because I can't shout. I can always question, my words will be very hard, but I won't shout. Either. So I won't allow that, because people have to understand the problem properly. See, problem will be there everywhere. And production is a big task. Anything can go wrong in production, because it's not an easy task. So people cannot put pressure on production. So especially in NATCO, we never put production on pressure on production. Quality is first, safety is first, then you process. So releases and all that, we will have that sufficient time. So if you really put pressure on the shop floor, all these data integrity issues, all other issues comes actually this way. So in the beginning also, when somebody says the managing and all that, I personally ask people not to use that word. because people are managing things. Manager is something different, but managing is different. Nowadays, people are managing it. So data integrity issues are managed.
So what's your sense? Is this a typical tussle between production and quality? Where are your difficult conversations on the shop floor? I want to hear from them now.
No, they are actually, it is most of the time actually, the other production and engineering it is happening.
Yeah, production and engineering. Very nice. Production and engineering. I want to bring up one more because that is also in a way the purpose of today's session with you. What about your conversations with your own immediate bosses and your juniors?
Before that, Sriram, actually, I noticed, so on the first day itself, I told tomorrow, suppose when so many people are sitting, I think this AC is not at all sufficient in the room. Have you noticed it? So I think we should go for 2 more ACs in this room. Just take that as a project because it's not at all sufficient.
That may be because we are raising the temperature. Difficult conversations.
But one AC is such a long, and when so many people are sitting, almost close to 45 people are sitting here. Probably it is, I am only feeling or you have a feeling? I won't feel.
How are people feeling? Is there need for to use an AC? In hot zone. You're in hot zone, yeah, in the corners. In the corners.
The point is 24. We must reduce the
So, how are your conversations with your juniors?
Sometimes that is.
Doctor, now you're in observer mode. You're in observer mode. Because how are your conversations with your juniors?
like a friend, like a brother.
Like a friend, like a brother. That's not what I heard yesterday from them.
Otherwise, nothing will come out.
I'm kidding. How open are you with your own bosses, with your own, with engineering, with quality? When something is off, how open are you? At home, how open are you? What's going on in the mind underneath these conversations?
Like a friend.
Like a friend? That's a very high level term because this is the behavior of a difficult conversation. I want to show you something. We are listening to facts. It's not just my view, my opinion, but I want to hear everyone's opinions. And I want to see, yeah, will my job get lost? 20 people will tell you, नहीं, किसी का नहीं हुआ है, तू क्यों बार-बार इतना करता है? Reasonable? Letting go of I am right, knowing that every party has a point of view. Next time your supervisor comes to you with a statement, I want you to start responding not with your opinion, but by finding out what his opinion is first. Ask why. Don't immediately jump to a solution. Ask, find out other people's opinions, your juniors' opinions. The second idea is to open up further, to work with an open heart, to actually say, I feel afraid. And at the end, we'll give each other a round of applause, but remarkable courage and openness in building this chart when Dr. Rao is sitting here. Just amazing, and amazing to you also that this is a new culture that we are trying to create. You don't need me here to draw this chart and to realize that actually yaar, Natco mein just fire. Be open, move forward. So no judgment. Moving from a world of doubting other people's intentions. यार बॉस का क्या हालचाल क्या चल रहा है, मेरा प्रमोशन करेगा इस साल या निकाल देगा मुझे. We're not doubting anyone's intentions. Knowing through empathy how the other person feels. And knowing that every human being has their troubles. Like I told you, last 9 pharma companies have built this chart, everyone says the same thing. Even at senior levels, even at junior levels, everybody is worried about their job being lost. The few moments when I can't tell if I've felt while we've been doing this, the few moments when I feel अरे यार program ठीक से नहीं चल रहा है, मेरा भी यहीं जाएगा. मेरा भी यहीं जाएगा. नहीं guys, they're not getting it. They're looking at me with blank faces. Right now you're all getting it. It's really going deep. I can tell in your eyes. But like one thought, एक अंधा बच्चा ऐसा निकलेगा, नहीं किसी को समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, तू क्या कर रहा है श्रीराम, तू क्यों पैदा हुआ ऐसे, तू क्या ऐसा कर रहा है. फिर डॉक्टर राव देखेंगे, फिर वो बोलेंगे इनको, फिर वो बोलेंगे उनको, फिर कल ये मील आएगा, फिर परसों ये नहीं होगा, अरे मेरा मकान का क्या होगा, राइट. सबका ऐसा ही है. Everybody has this chart. But the idea is, can you move forward to the final goal, which is open will, and say, listen, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Just be responsible for your thing and move forward. Have the will to move forward. Yeah. This AC was not. There was not enough ACs here. Whose problem is that? Whose responsibility? There was a life lost in the plant. Whose responsibility? There are 4 chips of paper. This floor is not clean in NATCO. NATCO floors are not clean. Whose responsibility? Whose? All of you. All of you. Ours, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Ours. Me too included. While I'm here, right? Who knows? I mean, God forbid something must happen, or this AC falls down right now during my session. मैं भी कुछ करूँगा. ऐसा नहीं कि यार हम तो गेस्ट हैं, आप सब ये करो. Right? Anything, even if a fly moves in NATO, whose responsibility? Ours. Quality, whose responsibility? Production, whose responsibility? Safety, whose responsibility? Profit, whose responsibility? Growth, whose responsibility? Learning, whose responsibility? कोई आके आपको ये नहीं देगा ना, right? So can we step out of this world of doubt and fear and be completely open? And the only reason, you guys are pretty senior already, right? So of course many of you are open, but the biggest challenge for you is enabling juniors to be open with you. They are afraid when they see you. By natural, not because अरे कौन बोला, किसने बोला, नाम क्या? So the idea is to create an open culture. Can we do this?
Yes.
Are you willing to be open right now?
Yes.
Yes.
सोच के बताओ. सोच के बताओ. Which zone are we in right now? Are you willing to move to the edge and check out the terror zone? Yes or no?
No.
I will go with you because I'm here right now. I'm at open will. I told you your juniors yesterday got to the terror zone. They did something. I have seen very few people at that cadre across 5,000 leaders in the last 2 years. Outstanding. The group that came yesterday. Outstanding. They blew my mind. They all said yes, and that's why we got that far. I told you, challenge me and we will go there together. Don't challenge and we may both be here and go back home feeling like We got अच्छा था, very interesting. मैंने पूरा सुना. चलो अभी कल का देखते हैं. Are you willing to check the terror zone? Yes or no? Up to you. Up to you. I want to close your eyes. Close your eyes. In fact, most often your heart will know the answer better. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Keep a hand on your heart. Any hand, right or left. And ask yourself, am I willing to step to the edge of the learning zone right now? Am I willing to explore the terror zone? And whenever you're comfortable, you can come back and open your eyes. How many of you felt yes? Yeah? See, this is the magic of the heart. Okay, so let me invite all of us to stand up. And what we are going to do is form two lines. You've now done this twice, so form two lines facing each other. Good. Anyone lost their job?
No.
Anyone's boss shouted at them?
No.
So here, he is not my boss. So I bear this. But suppose really my boss is there, I never tell.
It's okay. It's a natural process, right? Today this felt like terror zone, so your comfort zone has increased. Tomorrow maybe you will go further. But remember, you're doing all this for NATCO, the world, for you, your family. Absolutely. It's not just for any one person. As long as you're solving for the world, any boss will help you. Right? So, how are you feeling? Good? Good. Lovely. Learning zone? Wonderful. Now, we have some forms for you to fill, but do reflect on what this exercise means as a shift for you from today in your life, with at least one person. How will you be more open with your child, with your partner, with your wife, with your boss, with your team, anybody? Yeah? Take this with you for life. Thank you so much. You guys are lovely.
Can you please sit down in your places once, just last time? Can you just sit down in your places one last time? So, we are giving you a feedback form. If you can please fill that in for us. We are also giving you a folder. We are giving you an L folder which has all the solutions to the cases which we did today. So you have them for reference. And we are giving you a booklet which has the session which Sriram taught us, okay? And we also give you one copy of the jigsaw puzzle. We go home and solve it all. And then you're free to go. Before you go, please leave your voting machines here while you're going. Yeah.
We'll just somebody has to grab the voting machines. Better.